Hello, honey bunnies, and welcome to episode number 5 of the Blood Sisterz with a Z podcast.
Woo!
Episode number 5. Okay.
Episode number 5.
Uno, dos, tres,
halfway
cuatro,
to
cinco.
10. Yeah.
Episode number 5 is a whole dang hand. A whole hand. So let's give ourselves a one-handed round of applause. There we go. Remember, that's Blood Sisterz with a Z for zipper. Z for zebra. Any other Z words? Z for
Xenophobe.
xenophobe?
I think
Does that
so.
start with an
That's a
X?
word. Oh shit, that is an X. Ah, damn it.
Zabomafoo. Zoo. Ha. Ha. That's good. Okay. I am your
Zabomafoo. Did you really?
Any Zaboomafoo listeners out there. I am your host, Christina Mata, with my 2 lovely lady friends. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Natasha Akar, and I love you.
Okay.
I'm Rachel Cherie. How are ya?
Yes. Of course, remember to like our videos on YouTube, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to hit that little bell to get notifications whenever we have new content. Ding, ding, ding. Also, please be sure to follow us on Spotify or on Google Podcasts, which we have just recently become available on. Woo, woo.
Hey, now.
And Rachel got a new OnlyFans.
Hey! Hit up Rachel. About that. So today we are taking a trip to the good old American frontier in the 1870s, back in the day. Just to paint a picture for you guys, after the Civil War ended in 1865, the country started to expand and people started to move west to lands that were already occupied by Native Americans. Along with many
Tell
other...
the truth.
Yep.
That's right. Tell the truth.
Along with many other territories, the people of Osage, I've heard it pronounced Osage. I've heard it pronounced Osage. I think it's Osage.
It's Osage, yeah.
Sweet. The people of Osage were forced out, and white settlers began to flood in, many coming from Europe. These European families moved in and started to make new lives for themselves in this new world, or whatever. It is on this canvas that we have painted of the good old frontier that we will be talking about the Bender family, also known as the Bloody Benders. They are a serial killer family. Yes, you heard that right. Each of them had a part to play in these murders. They came to Osage County in 1870, same year, by the way, that Albert Fish was born. So 1870 is a year of pure evil.
Look how we tie shit together.
Look at that. The Bender family consists of a mother, father, sister, and brother. Or that's what we think they were, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. This particular grisly story begins with John, the father, and his son, also named John, so John Jr. In October of 1870, the family purchased 160 acres of land in Osage to build a home. And story says that they also actually purchased even more land on top of that to act as a buffer around their home, presumably so that they didn't have to be in much contact with their neighbors, which is pretty suspicious right there. They wanted a buffer. They didn't want anyone to see what shit they were doing.
I kind of don't like neighbors either, though, so I get that, too, though.
Oh, yeah. People in general. No. I could be as far away from anybody as I could. That'd be great. Just us in a house. That'd be fine. The Blood Sisterz house.
The Blood Sisterz house.
Yeah. When we get our own TV show, it'll be a Blood Sisterz house. We'll get to live in our own mansion together.
Sounds good.
Just saying. So, anywho, they settled claim to this land, which was technically located in southeastern Kansas in Labette County. It is said that they built a cabin, and then once John and John Jr. finished building the cabin, they sent for their mother and sister to come and join them. Having said that, it's kind of hard to separate truth from myth when going back this far, so I'm going to go through each family member and any information that I found about them. First, I'll start off with the mother, who went by Ma. She was 55 at the time. She has a few different names. I had read that her name was Elvira. I had read Elmira. And then according to the Kansas Historical Society, her name was Kate.
How you go from Elvira to Kate?
Considering her
who fucked up?
past, she might have just made up some different names.
True. She's
This is
out
a
there
big
murking
con
people.
artist ass family too, though. So just keep that in mind.
They're full of shit.
They are.
So the neighbors had actually referred to her as a she-devil. She was said to have had many husbands before this current one and
Get it,
12
Elvira.
children. Right, Elvira?
Get it.
She's out there. And all of her previous husbands had passed of an untimely death.
Unfortunate.
I heard
sad
they all
day.
died of head injuries.
Head wounds, some type of head trauma. And right, is it a coincidence, or is there some type of nanny dust
I was
like
gonna say she just
activity
like
going?
Nanny killing every damn body she get in contact with.
Get it, Elvira.
Except she wasn't using poison; she was getting bloody, which is kind of cool.
I like it.
Right. So this is kind of like our kind of lady. Next, we got the father, who went by Pa. Pa was 60, and as we discussed, his name was John. Some records have found his name to be John Flickinger, while other accounts have also called him by the name William. So again, who knows what kind of shady shit they were in beforehand. I'm sure they changed their names a few times. Who knows who they really are. I don't have a whole lot on this man, except that he was said to have an intimidating presence. He was short and stout with a bushy beard and had a very thick accent, making him difficult to understand in conversation. It is said that he mostly grunted, which is fun. The little grunting hobbit man. The family was more than likely from Germany. He was said to have spoken with a German accent, but it's also possible that they may have come from the Netherlands. So English was not their native language. On to the son, John Jr., 25. Not a whole lot on him. He was said to have spoken with a German accent and at times would randomly laugh with no reason to. Some questioned whether he was developmentally challenged, if he was all there. And that's
Just because he liked
John
to
Jr.
laugh.
Well, yeah, they say he liked to laugh at inappropriate times, though.
Shit, we all do.
Yeah,
Is somebody gonna sit there and be like, y'all not too bright. Y'all just laughing. That girl done fail. Like, well, it's funny.
We're like, well, it's funny.
But I do see what the articles are saying. He liked to laugh at inappropriate times. Just, times where you really probably shouldn't laugh. He laughed.
Well, haven't you ever had moments where you're just sitting there?
And you just-
There's nothing going on, but you're just thinking of something really funny. Maybe I'm thinking about how...
I mean, we understand because we're not all the way there either. However,
That could be why we justifying it, because we're like Kendrick, not all the way there spirits.
right,
Yeah.
I mean, I laugh all the damn time.
That's
People
true.
look at me crazy as hell. So,
Right. I'll just start laughing.
But
and,
to other people, it would be inappropriate times. Like,
Oh, JJ.
Doctor, Barnes died. Like he started laughing. Like, dude, it's not, Dr. Burns died. It's not funny.
But his name's Burns. Like, I get it. Sorry.
no, by all means. Next, we have one of our most interesting characters, the daughter. Her name was Kate. She was 23, which may or may not have been the actual daughter. Some accounts have said that Kate was not actually John Jr.'s sister, but they were actually husband and wife. As far as I've been able to find, I did not find any records of them actually being married, but it is possible that this had been a common law marriage in which there would not have been any records. Kate, in my opinion, is the most interesting of them all because she had a really good way with people. It said that she was attractive, spoke English very well, and was also a spiritualist. For anyone who does not know about what this was at the time, it was a belief or movement that became very popular in the 1800s, which basically said that the spirits of the dead can communicate with the living. Kate would make flyers advertising herself as a medium and would read fortunes, tell futures, sell spells, hold seances, told people she could cure illnesses, and even went out of her way to hold meetings to educate those who were interested in learning about spiritualism. So if they needed it, she could do it. She was the end-all be-all in spiritualism, apparently. She had gained a reputation as a witch, of course, and apparently one fun story was some children in the town had tried testing this by placing a nail on her chair to see what would happen when she sat on it. Of course, she sat on it and just yelped in pain, so that really didn't prove anything. But
That's what happens.
yeah.
You hurt your ass.
Right.
When you sit on a nail upside down, you hurt your butt. So a weird quote from her that I found that she had shared during one of her meetings that really made people question Kate's relationship with her brother. I will read it because it's goofy as all hell. Shall we confine ourselves to a single love and deny ourselves their proper sway? Even though it be a brother's passion for his own sister, I say it should not be smothered.
I read she was like about free love too. So they could
Yep.
have been
Yep.
brother, sister, and she was just like, I'm gonna give in my brother fine as hell. Ooh, that sounds wrong.
Maybe that's what she was thinking, though. That's, yeah. The
All right,
free,
let's-
free love.
Let's go with that they were married.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
just feel like the family was straight up con artists, and they just wanted people to believe that they were a family of four.
Yeah. They just were like, let's
Immediate-
pose as a
immediately.
family. This makes the most sense. You can be the brother, you can be the sister, we'll be the parents because we're older, whatever. So
They was on some bullshit. That's all that is to
Mhm.
it.
they just made shit up. They were like, well, we're going to go to a new country. We'll just see what happens. So, meanwhile, back at the cabin, their cabin was in a part of the country that had a lot of travelers. And because of this, there was a rise in crime in that area since robbers knew that travelers essentially had all of their possessions on them and would take advantage of this fact. These travelers were trying to find new places to live, to settle down, and it became very dangerous to travel these trails. Therefore, the Bloody Benders were able to make a profitable business of their cabin by hosting travelers who needed a place to rest for the night. The travelers would have a roof over their heads, a meal, and they could also stock up on supplies since part of their business included a small store. On top of that, word spread quickly about Kate being a hot fortune teller, so everyone wanted to stay there anyway. But, and there's a big but here, it soon became noticed by others in the town that many travelers who checked into their residence did not check out. So we go to the victims, or this crazy ride starts. Or
Well,
picks
you
up.
already took us on a crazy ride. Buckle up, bitches. It gets crazier. Yeah. So they built a one-room home with a canvas curtain that divided the space into two areas. Now, the front was a public inn and store, and the family lived in the back. So they welcomed, like Christina said, all the different travelers to come in. You can get clean. You can eat a good meal, stock up on some liquor, some wacky tobacco, some gunpowder, some horse feed, like all the good things you would need during that long-ass trail.
Sounds good to me.
Right. So we already know Kate was fine as hell for back in the day. So they kind of used her as bait to kind of get the travelers to kind of to stop in, because they would already hear all these things about this kind of local celebrity with a great personality. She's a spiritualist, and she has like these great psychic hearing abilities, and she's sexually liberated. Like, she spoke about the free love and everything. So it was not hard to get all the men who were traveling throughout this trail to stop at the inn. So this particular trail was not an easy one to travel. Many would go missing, like Christina said, heading to the west. And the different dangers range from diseases, accidents, bandits, and fighting with the Native Americans who they came in and took their land, right? So May 1871, the body of a man named Jones was found in Drum Creek. I mean, he had his skull crushed and his throat cut. They actually suspected the owner of Drum Creek, but thankfully no charges were made against him. In February 1872, the bodies of 2 more men were found with the same injuries. But over the next few years, more and more people reportedly traveling through. Now, you said Labette. I heard it was La Betty. Let's call it La Betty.
maybe.
I don't know.
Betty.
Yep, Betty.
Yeah.
Perfect. So more and more people traveling through Betty County went missing, okay? And by 1873, the reports of missing people traveling through the area had become so high that travelers started to avoid the trail. The vigilance committees would often make the wrong arrest for these crimes and later release the suspects. But many of the innocent men, as you can imagine, would be ran out of that county. Once they got released, people around in the community still were like, nah, I think you did it. So these men would end up having to pack up and leave anyway. Now, the families of the missing people usually found out really late that their loved ones disappeared because it wasn't as easy to communicate and keep in touch with them. So it was easy for the benders to kind of go on a bender. Okay. No, it was easy for the benders to go on a killing spree. And in the winter of 1872, George Newton Longcore and his infant daughter, Marianne, headed to Iowa from Independence, Kansas, only to never be seen again. So in March of 1873, a well-known physician from Independence, Kansas, named Dr. William York, traveled across the same trail looking for them and questioning people along the way. On his way back to Independence, he too went missing. So Dr. York actually came from a powerful family, and his 2 brothers, Colonel Edward York and Kansas Senator Alexander York, were not going to let his disappearance go easily. Okay.
Did they invent the peppermint patty or the York peppermint patty? Or?
I think they did. You heard it here on Blood Sisters. We be spreading some false information, but yep, they did.
The York peppermint patty fame.
We're gonna look that up to be sure, everyone.
Now just go with it. What we say here is facts. So facts. These brothers, this family, invented the York peppermint patty empire.
Yeah, get the sensation.
Period.
That's their motto, right?
So Colonel York, he actually led the investigation with 50 men and questioned every traveler along the trail. When the benders were questioned, though, they denied knowing anything about Dr. York's disappearance. But they actually admitted that he stayed with them. They was like, yeah, he did come here, but we think he had a run-in with the Indians, and they did something with him. So the colonel was like, you know what? That you're probably right. I think that did happen. And he actually stayed and ate dinner with them that night.
Oh my gosh! I heard I read a different story. I just feel like all the stories about this family is just
No matter which way you look at it, it's fucked.
It is messed up, but so many different stories because I heard they said that he did come to their quarters, but then he left. And it was nothing about any Indians or anything like that.
Yeah. So the family lied, and they were like, "No, we think the Indians had something to do with it," which was it was actually a justified conclusion you can come to during that time because the Indians were over there, rightfully so, murking people. Like, y'all just took my land
because
and killed
they was
my
on
people.
their damn land, right?
Let me go get my shit back.
Right. So, and that mixed with the diseases. So that's, again, why it was so easy for all these people to go all these men to go missing. And everybody was like, yeah, he probably just got killed by the Indians or a disease or fell and broke his leg and succumbed to the weather. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of conflicting information. And I'm going to touch base on that too.
So much.
So on April 3rd, he returned to the inn with his armed men after hearing that a woman had ran from the inn after being threatened with knives by Mama Elvira. So originally they pretended, like Christina had said, that Mama Bear and Pop, they got these thick ass German accents. They're not really fluent in English. But when they questioned Ma Bender again, she flew into a violent passion, in the words of the Weekly Kansas chief. And she claimed that the woman was a witch and she was a bad, wicked woman who cursed her coffee. And she even said that she would kill the woman if she ever got near her family again. She then went on to kick the cops out of her house, showing that she did, in fact, understand English and what the men were saying. So it said that the Ma and Pa actually understood more English than what they were letting on. So good old Kate, she all fine and stuff. She come up to the colonel and she like, I'm clairvoyant, right? Why don't you come back and I'm gonna help you find your brother? So York's men, though, they were not as easily swayed, and they felt something was off right away. They wanted to hang the Benders and their neighbors, the Roaches, for the crime. I couldn't find anything on the Roaches.
No, I know I had heard that it was speculated that they were in cahoots together at some point, but I knew nothing about the Roaches.
Right.
I think that they had traveled when the Benders came and settled. It was with 4 other families, so it was 5 families that came together. I think the Roaches were one of them. We don't know anything else about them.
Yeah. So that could have been something else that was added, like an urban legend, or it could have been some facts. Sadly, it was so long ago, we just don't know what was true. So again, his men wanted to hang them, but Colonel Yoke was like, nah, we got to find more evidence first. So at this time, everyone is pointing fingers at everyone, and accusations were made that the Osage community was responsible for the disappearances. So they held a town hall meeting at Harmony Grove Schoolhouse, where both men from the Bender family were there, along with 75 locals and Colonel York. So the town people decided to search every homestead between Big Hill Creek and Drum Creek for evidence. But the weather took a turn for the worse, and it was several days before the official search could begin. Now, although Colonel Yoke actually suspected the Benders, and people around knew this, nobody kept an eye on them. So it was way too easy for the Benders to kind of sneak away in the middle of the night. So one of their neighbors, a little nosy neighbor, he noticed that there were starving animals on the property walking around. He went to check things out. He was surprised to find that the Benders' home had been abandoned. Nobody was there. So he reported this to the township trustee, and the volunteers who came, they searched the property, and they noticed that the Benders' wagon, food, and clothing was taken. Other than that, very little else had seemed to be taken, so it shows that the Benders were really smart, and they had already planned, if something happens, we just going to take the essentials, and we're going to get the hell out of Dodge. Mm-hmm. The empty house seemed normal, except for a trap door in the floor underneath. And I seen one report said it was under a bed, nailed shut. Did anybody else see that?
The trap door?
Yeah, it was under a bed. Like, I that didn't seem right, but so let's just knock that part out. If anybody else seen it, I was gonna be like, yeah, okay, maybe it was a bed, but
I didn't see anything about a bed. I just saw that there was a trap door.
So I didn't know if they moved a bed in front of the trap door before they left to try to hide it.
That's possible. I had read that the trapdoor was right by the place of honor, where they had their victims.
Mm-hmm. And so that's why I was wondering if they moved the bed on top before they left, like they rearranged some things.
Yeah, they very well might have, because I would think after they're beating their head in with a hammer, they slit their throat, it's dead weight. You'd think that they would need to be near the trapdoor so they can plop them down there, right
away. Yeah. So the door was, like Christina said, it was located behind the curtain, right? Mm-hmm. So the search crew, they were taken back by how bad the empty room smelled when they actually went into the cellar. And it was an empty room, and the blood was soaked into the soil. And so when they went down there, they actually tore up the ground and they did not find any bodies. And so I guess they chalked up the smell to just the horrible blood-soaked soil that was down there, because there was no bodies there anymore at this point.
Oh, the blood just appeared.
All right. So the neighbors were called at that point that the garden always seemed freshly plowed, and so they turned their attention to the freshly plowed garden. First, they uncovered Dr. York's body buried face down with his feet barely below the surface. The back of his head had been smashed and his throat had been slit. They then found more and more bodies with similar injuries. Now, there's conflicting information on exactly how many bodies were found at that time, but I will go over the list of bodies, and some of them are the ones that were actually found there. But the family may have committed as many as 21 murders. And again, like we said earlier, though, sadly, because we're receiving this information today, so much of it has been spun for like urban legends and to kind of add like shock value. There's no way
like
for us to know for
telephone.
sure. Yeah. Right. So it's like one person's like, yeah, they found 8 bodies. And somebody's like, no, they found 8. Then the next day they found 12. And then I'm just like, damn.
It was so many conflicting stories. And I feel like it's so many stories because it was long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And these people that was in their community, the other 4 families, because it was 5 families in the community that they were in.
Yep.
So the other 4 families just made up shit.
Yeah. And they just kept passing those stories down for
Right, because
generation
it was
to
people
generation.
there searching and searching or whatever. I just feel like they were just making up stuff, just to have some
clout.
dinner conversation.
For
Right.
clout.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So it is also said that the body of a young girl was found there with no clear injuries of how she died, so they believe she was strangled or buried alive. Now, later, investigators were able to piece together what happened, and we kind of touched on that a little bit. So it is believed that the guests at the inn were guided to sit in a chair against the separating curtain while eating. Now, this chair was considered a seat of honor for their guests. They would then, one of the male benders, would come from behind the curtain and they would hit the guest of honor in the head with a hammer. While Kate, of course, she's all beautiful. She's in front of them, distracting them. Oh, yeah, shake it up, Christina. And then one of the bender women would then slit their throats and they would drop their body into the trapdoor leading into the cellar right underneath or right behind them. Once they were in the cellar, they would rob them and later bury the body, usually in the orchard. So some victims were wealthy, while others they believe were killed just for the sake of being killed. Mr. Wetzel, that's a fun name. He heard of this theory and he recalled a time where he declined to sit in the chair designated for him. And Mama Bender, the resident Grinch, because she was kind of evil, she became angry and abusive towards him. After another Bender came from behind the curtain or the cloth with a hammer, Mr. Wetzel and his companion decided to leave, and that's what saved their lives. Another traveler named William Pickering told an almost identical story. He said he refused to sit near the wagon cloth because of the stains on it. Kate then threatened him with a knife and he ran. He got the hell out of Dodge. Mm-hmm. A Catholic priest also saw one of the Bender men trying to hide a large hammer and he quickly left the inn as well. So the common thing that we're seeing from the survivors is like, oh, damn, that almost was me. That same thing happened, but something didn't feel right. Mm. So more than a dozen bullet holes were found in the roof and on the side of the cabin. So this could possibly be from the victims up in pistol and trying to fight for their life. Sadly, it didn't work because from what we know, none of the Benders ever suffered from any gunshot wounds. Did you find anything about that?
No.
Nope. Walking with a limp?
No.
Okay. So with no success, they up pistol and still sadly died. So the crime spread all across the newspaper, and the Minneapolis Star-Tribune reported over 3,000 people at the crime scene, with more coming in on trains. And do you cover that a little bit?
What?
The people coming in from trains?
No.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So the Kansas newspaper reported, said that the crowd grabbed a friend of Bender's. His name was Brockman, and they hung him from a beam in the inn, right? They brought him back to life, and then they questioned him some more, and then they hung him again. And then on the third time, when they brought him back to life, they just let him stagger home. They was like, all right, we done
and they
with
made
you.
him walk home.
Yeah.
We got your info. You can stumble home
I'm
now.
gonna hang your ass from a beam
3 times.
Bring
3
you back to
times.
life.
And they ain't gonna call you no cat. I know they had cat. We called him a horse and
I
carriage
want
or
to
something.
call you a cat.
Call you a wagon.
Right, call me a wagon. So you
Get
gonna
me
make
a
me
horse.
walk home?
You tie me to a horse, an ox, whatever you got.
Something. And so it said that hardened men at the scene were actually moved to tears by all the bodies that they discovered. And souvenirs, the entire house pretty much was taken apart, and things were taken from souvenir seekers, and they took everything from even the bricks that lined the cellar below. They came in and took everything. Don't know why. They didn't really have police, but I don't know why there wasn't more done to kind of preserve the crime scene, but they just let everybody come in and just take whatever the hell they wanted.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
There is a museum in Kansas now that has some things. There's a knife there that's on display. There's a flyer from Miss Kate saying, Miss Kate can cure diseases.
her feel
and
right.
all this.
Her
Yep.
cure diseases and stuff. Yes.
Cure
There-
blindness, apparently, was
Cure
stated on the
blindness,
flyer.
Deafness,
Right.
yes, all that shit, girl. She
Like,
was the
okay.
woman. Okay.
Kate was that B word. Okay, Kate.
But look though, even though they committed all these murders, at least 21. I read 20. You're reading 21. There's so much conflicting evidence on this family. However, they weren't convicted of anything.
Right, but I'm gonna go through the list real quick too. So I'll do this really quick, just a list of the presumed victims that were killed at the hands of the Bloody Benders. I'll go in order. Some of them we did speak about earlier already, and then this is just a recap so y'all can get a clear idea of how many bodies are said to be found on the property, and then we're going to talk about how they escaped not even getting convicted of shit. Okay. So, May 1871, Mr. Jones' body was found in Drum Creek. We talked about with the crushed skull and throat cut. February 1872, 2 unidentified men found on the prairie with crushed skulls and throats cut. December, same year, Ben Brown from Howard County, Kansas. He, $2,600 was missing with him, and he was buried in the apple orchard. December, same year. W.F. McCrotty, $38 in a wagon with a team of horses missing. December 1872, Henry McKenzie, all these guys were discovered in the orchard, so the dates are going to be similar until the end. Relocated to Independence from Hamilton County, Indiana. $36 in a match team of horses missing. Johnny Boyle from Howard County, Kansas, $10 and $850 saddle missing, found in the Bender's Well. George Newton Longcore, who we talked about earlier, his 18-month-old daughter, Mary Ann. It's also reported that Mary Ann was 8. That's a big age gap, so I don't know if Mary Ann was 18 months or if she was 8. So his wife, Mary Ann, she had actually passed a few months after giving birth to baby Mary Ann. His wife is Mary Jane, I apologize. And she had passed after giving birth to baby Mary Ann. And also he had an infant son, Robert, who died from pneumonia in 1871. So it said that he was actually heading back to live with his parents at the time when he had when he disappeared, when he stopped at the Bender's place. So he also had $1,900 on him. And it is thought that the girl who was buried alive was his daughter. So remember I talked about earlier how there was a girl found in the well and we didn't know how she died. Mm-hmm. It's suspected that that was actually his daughter. Mm-hmm. So in December 1872, John Greery, he was buried in the apple orchard. Red Smith, buried in the apple orchard. Abigail Roberts, buried in the apple orchard. And then also there was various body parts. The parts did not belong to any of the other victims. So it is believed that at least 3 additional victims were buried down there. Rachel's got a stank face. Also, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's a lot. And then also the bodies of 4 unidentified males were found in Drum Creek and the surrounding area. This is linked to them because all 4 of them had their skulls crushed and their throats slicked. One might have been Jack Bogart, whose horse was purchased from a friend of the Benders after he went missing in 1872. And lastly, May 1873, Dr. York, the one we've been talking about the most, $2,000 was missing, and he was buried in the apple orchard. So, as Rachel said, that list alone came to 20 people. So we can go ahead and assume that the Benders were responsible for murdering, or at least the disappearance of at least 20 people. There could be a lot more, but also some of these victims could not have been theirs too, because some of them were not found on their property. But it's linked to them because they died in a similar manner that they actually executed people.
Mm. Do you think that the bodies served as great fertilizer for the apple orchard?
Really?
Maybe.
That's a good question.
Right.
They ain't no fucking
when you think
cows.
of fertilizer.
Christina.
I mean, we don't know unless,
We don't
maybe-
farm, but maybe bodies do serve as a good fertilizer.
Fertilizer is basically like shit, right?
First of all, I'm done with the both of you.
Oh,
okay.
We said, oh, damn. Okay.
So about their arrest and conviction, that never happened. Unfortunately, for these 20 to 21 families, maybe more, that they killed. When Colonel York came looking for his brother, he came with the force, okay? He was not playing with them. And stories are conflicted. They say that there was a storm and that put off his search for his brother. And they also say that they just told him, oh, your brother went here. And then he left and was like, look, if I don't find my brother here, I'm coming back. So there's no telling how that actually happened. So there was a man found in Montana that fit the description of Pa.
Ooh.
And he was being arrested for murder. Okay, now listen to this.
Okay.
So he was being arrested for murder, and he knew that he fit the description of John Bender, of Pa. And he cut his foot off and escaped the shackles. Okay?
Like Saw.
And by the time they got to him. He had bled out and bled to death. His body decomposed. They couldn't positively ID him.
Damn, he didn't think that through.
So,
Right.
So he's like, I'm getting away, and you ain't gonna find out what I did, who I did, nothing. Like, he got away. So there's no telling. Although what's so conflicting about that story though is they say that Ma and Pa left together, John and Kate left together.
John and Kate plus 8.
Exactly. That's
right.
Unfortunately, that's not that.
John and Kate plus 21.
I never put that right. I never put that together until you said John and Kate. I'm like, plus 8. All right. Sorry.
Okay, and then okay, so now I told you they fled when he said,
Right.
I'm gonna come back for my brother if I don't find out that he's where you said he is.
Shouldn't have warned him.
So as soon as your Colonel York left, they left too.
Mm-hmm.
But I told you the stories are conflicting because they say that Colonel York was there, but he stayed. And see, that's where Tasha's story come in at, because they said he stayed there because there was a storm. So ain't no telling if he stayed there because there was a storm and they actually fed him and took after him or whatever until the storm was over, or what that is.
Oh, because I see what you're saying, because I thought he had already left and then the storm came in.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway,
Anywho.
they say that Ma and Pa left together and they went to Michigan.
Okay.
And they say that John and Kate left. And it turns out that John's last name was not Bender. And he was married to Kate. But I'm not sure about that information because I just don't feel like any of it is true. Like I told you in the beginning, I just feel like people are like, hey, we know this about them. Y'all don't know nothing. Y'all don't know nothing. They were big con artists, and so they don't know anything. However, I'm not sure if it was 1884 or 1889 that Sarah and Elmira was arrested for larceny.
Now, who the hell's Sarah?
Right.
Sarah is Kate. Sarah is Kate.
This nigga said right. Who the hell is Sarah? Sarah Lee in there too?
Right. Is that where the cheesecake started?
Sarah is Kate.
And
they changed their names.
Jeez. They just changed
They
their
are
names like it
con
was
artists.
nothing.
They are con artists. They changed their damn names. So they were arrested for larceny. Listen to this funny story. It's not funny, but it's funny. But it's funny. So they got arrested and they fit the description of Ma and Kate. Okay. And Elmira is like, she's for sure Kate, but I'm not Elvira.
Ain't that a bitch?
Look. And then Kate go, or Sarah go, she's for sure Elvira, but I'm not Kate.
Oh, no.
And at this point, Papa is already dead because he done cut his foot off.
Right. And John is just nowhere to be found. Her husband, I have no idea where. I cannot
Her
find. Or brother,
Husband.
her brusband.
Gross.
Her brusband. I have no idea where Kate's brusband is, but that is why you see information of they have never been caught or convicted of any of the murders, because they did flee. They did. And the stories are conflicting. They don't know like where they went, but they did split up for sure.
So did they end up arresting Kate and Elmira?
So they arrested Kate and Elmira for larceny. And then when they got off for that, they were immediately arrested after that because they fit the description of Ma and Kate, the Benders. Okay, so they was arrested for the Benders murders. Then they was transported to Kansas. They were positively identified as Elvira,
What?
okay, and her child, Kate. But for some reason, that was not enough to convict them. And so they let them go again. So that's why the Benders have never been convicted of any of the murders. I know, Christina. Look, I didn't do it, okay? You could just stop the face.
I got a real dumb face on right now.
Stop the face.
They got positively identified
as,
and still got off.
Yeah, by multiple people. Multiple people said, that is Elvira. That is Elvira. And they was like, okay, but that's not enough.
Dang.
And that's because, but I bet had they kept evidence, they would be convicted.
Yep.
They had
They would be
nothing.
convicted.
Nothing. They let
But
everybody come in and take
They
it.
let everybody come in and take stuff. There you go. And then when they flee the damn location, no one knew who they were. They probably went with different names after they left. I'm almost positive they did. Why would you go with the same names? Why would you do that?
Oh, heck no.
And they're supposedly famous for killing people.
Right.
So
They're
why
just
would you go with
traveling
John and
the
Kate
country.
and Ma and Pa, whatever? Why would you go with those names if you are wanted for murders?
They had some common sense there.
Yeah,
They had
there
a
you
lot
go.
of common sense,
Yeah.
and that's why they were never caught.
Yeah. I had heard some rumors that vigilantes had found them and killed them, but I really don't think that that's
Okay, so
legit.
that was
I
another
think
thing
they were
I
just
read.
trying
So
to.
there was they called them posses.
Oh.
So there was a few posse
Posse.
members that had deathbed confessions and said that they actually did kill the Benders. But we don't know if that's true or not.
And at
Why
this
would
time,
you wait
too,
till you're on your deathbed?
right?
to-
Well,
Because you would have been celebrated as a local hero
Right.
if you caught them and
Right.
killed them.
Exactly, and no one ever claimed the reward money, which was between $2,000 and $3,000. That's a confliction too, because the actual poster says $2,000. However, the articles say $3,000. So I'm not really sure, but they say the Benders got away with at least $10,000, which is a fortune in the 1800s
yeah.
because, well, it's a lot of money then.
And they had horses and shit that they sold, so they had made even more money.
Girl, they
from that.
probably got a nice black horse, you know what I'm saying, with the good hair, you know? Okay.
I'm about my wigs. Yeah, like I don't see the people on their death. Like I don't see that being true. They possibly did end up killing some people and realized it was the wrong people, so that's why they was like, "Damn, we were so set on
That's what
getting
happened
blood."
with the Benders. They killed the wrong motherfucker. That's why Collado came after them with his posse. Like, oh, where my bro?
50 men. He had a big ass gang. Can you gather up 50 of your closest female friends and be like, "Let's go out here. My sister missing."
We can make a Facebook post.
True.
I'm sure we could rally.
We
up
can make a
few-
Facebook
yeah.
post.
True.
Yeah. If
Be
any
like,
of
hey,
us needs it, we can rally
So
up
and
50
so
people
needs
between
help.
us.
Right. We could make a Facebook post. I'm pretty sure I could at least get 5 of y'all.
Yeah, I don't know about 50 because I don't like people that much. So I don't know that many people that be, like willing to ride with me.
Yeah,
but I can get about 5.
Yeah.
Come out there and fuck some shit up. I should
Yeah.
stop cussing.
It's all right.
We're explicit. So
Yeah,
it's
good.
okay.
I'm
They
too-
know
I'm
what they're
very
getting
relaxed.
into.
I'm very relaxed today. I'm saying a lot more swear words than normal.
Good.
Relaxation is absolutely amazing.
Beautiful. I'm at peace. All right, so that is the story of the Bloody Benders. What's our cold-hearted question this week?
So your cold-hearted question this week is, what family member would you call on to help you kill somebody? Or what family member would you call on to help you dispose of the body that you already killed? So for me, I'm pretty sure there's no family member I can call on to help me dispose of a body or help me kill anybody because they'll call on Jesus on me.
Ooh.
Oh,
So
Who's
I'm
that?
big guns.
the whole family, girl. They're not gonna help me.
I was talking about who Jesus. Hey, sis.
They not finna help me. They gonna be like,
Hey, Zeus, you mean?
They're not gonna help me. So since I cannot call on my family, I'm gonna call on the closest one to my family, and that's Tasha. She's sitting right here with me.
I just choked.
I'm calling Tasha, and she's not gonna even question me. I know she's not.
Not at all.
I'm gonna be like, look, this motherfucker did this, and we have to do that. Don't ask me no questions. And she's gonna be like, okay, let me clear out the car. I got my punching bags in the car.
Right.
And I got
Gotta
my
line it
gloves
with
in the
some
car. So
plastic.
let me clear that out, and I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna be like,
I got a
okay,
tarp.
you need to get your ass here right now because they bleeding on my flow. You know, like my hardware flows.
Yep. Damn, that was unexpected. That is actually true. I wouldn't ask questions.
I know you
I don't
wouldn't.
need to know nothing.
I know you wouldn't.
The less I know, the better. All I need to know is how we finna dispose of this shit. We're gonna work it out and get a barrel.
We're gonna probably have to drive around
together.
with that motherfucker for a little while. Like, so I don't know exactly where we're gonna take this body. I just decided to kill this motherfucker because
We're gonna come over to Christina. She got a garage. We got a barrel of acid in there.
You do have the tools, Christina. Oh my gosh, we will be all right.
We'll be fine.
Period.
Get some acid. Dissolve them in the acid. Yeah.
Dissolve them in the acid.
Yeah.
That's right. Breaking Bad did teach us that.
Yeah.
You need acid.
Don't put them in a tub. If I learned anything from Breaking Bad, don't put it in a tub.
I ain't never watched that show.
It's an amazing
It's
show.
good.
You will like it.
It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah, we should watch it.
We can.
We
Blood
should watch
Sisterz
it
Bender.
together.
So for me, I was the same way. I don't know anybody in my family. It was really hard for me to answer this one. I wanted to say my mom, but she's like such a good person. It's sickening. So I could imagine her being like, "You gotta turn yourself in, babe." And I'm like, "No, I want to go to church." But you gotta turn. Like, no, this person was horrible. But 2 wrongs don't make it right. Now would piss me off.
2 wrongs don't make it right.
Shonda, my sister, bless her soul, she got 2 left feet and just clumsy as hell. I could see Shonda leaving like a fingernail in an eye socket or some hair or something.
Shonda gonna leave her whole fingerprint.
Yes, like Shonda go take her glove off because it's hot and start touching the body, and then they gonna find some evidence because she didn't think it was a big
She was
deal.
like, well, it was hot.
Right, like so I could
It was
find
sweaty.
somehow if I called on Shonda, it getting back to me. And then the other person I kind of thought about, I was like, well, maybe I could use. I didn't know I could use friends. See, Rachel cheated because I would have called on y'all.
Well, shit, you are my family.
That is very true. That is very, and you're my family that I get to choose, so that's even more valuable than the family I was forced with.
It really is. So I'm calling your ass.
Makes sense. For mine, I answered it literally. Then I thought of my brother, but I could see him helping every step along the way. But he would get drunk one night and be like, "Yo, man, don't make me call my sister. We hide bodies for a living." Or something for street cred. And then I'm sitting there like, "Yo, you can't do that." So
That's how people get caught.
right.
Can't
So
say shit.
for this one, I don't have any family members, but since we can bend the rules, I would call on my ladies to help me with this body. Yes.
Honestly, she can call me, but I'm going to hang up the phone in tears like, oh my gosh.
Oh.
We are going to jail.
See, I like that she's already committed to the idea, like, we just going to jail together. I'm going to help you. I don't know if we're going to get away, but we're going to jail together.
And then we're going to have to be like Claude and Ray in jail, except for we really did kill somebody. We really did. And then they're going to be like, why are you in here? And I'm gonna be like, we really killed somebody.
We actually did.
And he's gone.
I'm being in the corner laughing like Nanny Doss.
Just be reliving it over and over like it was worth it.
Right. All right,
Yeah.
Christina, who you calling?
The first person I thought of was my grandma. My grandma didn't, she didn't give a shit. She would have. She definitely, she's there for me through and through. But unfortunately, since she passed away in 2018, I wouldn't be able to call on her. Grandma didn't care.
Because see, she's a spirit. There you go.
That's true. I could be like, it was the spirit of my grandma, and then they would have been like, oh, okay. They'd have been like,
Grandma come in there like, ain't this a bitch I done helped you? Are you blaming me?
She's going to be crip walking in heaven.
Yeah, right or wrong, she would have just been like, well, that sucks, but all right, we're good. What do we have to do? But I thought of, who do I have that's living who would be able to help me with this? First person I thought of was my sister, but my sister would probably be like, nope, not happening. I got kids to take care of. I'm not getting in your bullshit. You're
That's
on your
my
own
sister.
here.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's my sister.
So it would either be by my lonesome, or I would call on you guys.
Aw, you don't think Bob would help you?
He would probably be like, that's not right.
Damn, how do we?
He
all
gonna
of
scratch
us
his
got
head. I could see him like
He's too
thinking about it and
He's
processing
too
it.
good.
No,
Yeah.
I can't. No.
He's too like, that's
So-
against the law.
So we blood
Couldn't do
sisters
that.
for real?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we going to jail.
We're gonna
All
have
of
to
us
do
all
a-
dark, and we got all of these morally and ethically great standing people in our lives who would not help us hide a body. That is messed up.
My family will not help. They won't even help me cheat on a man, honey. They not helping me.
They won't help
clear
you?
no body.
Oh yeah, mine will help me cheat on a man in
See?
a heartbeat.
They're
See,
not helping me.
absolutely.
They're not helping me.
Oh, that's messed up. Well, yeah. Well, look who made it to through the entire episode of another episode of Blood Sister.
Congrats.
Congratulations, guys. You got that snap. That's all you got because we're not making money. You know why we're not making money? Because you got to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And you got to like, you got to comment, you got to subscribe, you got to hit that bell notification thingy so you will know when we upload a new episode. All right? We are getting better at our social media presence, so we're going to start blasting y'all and actually being heavy on there in your face to make you remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, I am Natasha Carr with
Rachel Cherie.
Christina Mata.
Flirting with Darkness and Promoting Weird Brown Girl Joy. Until next time.
We love you long time.
Peace.